When I landed my hands on the Skhanda sound, my idea wasn't for it to just be a KO sound. I wanted to almost kind of give us as SA hip hop an identity. You know, I mean, you had your guys from, like, I mean, people were talking about Mutswako and all that stuff. And, you know, incredible icons came from that, you know, RIP, WHP and them. But I think from just the beat selection perspective, the beats were not necessarily like screaming South Africa. You know, they were still no different from what was happening back in the day, whether it's like a Dr. Dre beat or whatever, you know, or Scott Storch beat. So when we did what we did with this kind of sound, we tapped into, like you're saying, those elements of Kwaito, taking what was going on within that space and putting it over hip-hop beats, right? And I thought that was supposed to be almost like the identity that we were going to run with. But as life would have it, you know, we are in a very fickle space. I was almost kind of forced to abandon that myself when, you know, things went haywire, you know, around my brand, you know, those years. And I was forced to almost kind of do a whole rebrand and come back and do something that was less of that and more trendy. And I don't have a problem, because that's just the type of person that I am. I can always go and abandon whatever that I know and start from scratch and, you know, build again. And that's why I'm still here. So as far as like bashing the other guys and saying they are not South African just because of their sound, I mean, yes, there is some truth into it, but it's not just about like us just, you know, throwing all that into the trash can and saying just because you are doing XYZ, something that J. Cole does or something that Tory Lanez does or Young Thug, now you are a non-factor, you know, because those guys still have a voice, you know, they have an influence, and they also have a responsibility themselves, whether they know it or not, to make sure that the identity and the authenticity of our country, you know, permeates throughout their music. So if they're not taking the responsibility to do that, to me, it's not because I feel like they are being ignorant or whatever. To me, I just feel like, you know, these are young guys. You know, we all, I mean, when I was starting out, I was like a full-on, like, American wannabe, like full-on. I knew nothing else, you know. But, you know, the more I matured, I understood, you know, the country better, and the reason why Kwaito was successful, you know, I started becoming more business savvy and tapping into all those things that were like in my face. I'm like, okay, cool, so let me dabble into that, let me package myself in a certain way so I can appeal to the very people, because hip-hop is still not a huge, like, the consumer is still outnumbered by the people that listen to gospel music, listen to even the amapiano stuff. So we are still pretty much niche in a certain way, but the reason why we end up having the commercial impact is because we, you know, from time to time make record crossover music, you know, that connects with all those other people from those different genres. So that is how actually we need to, for us to be successful, I need to always be mindful of the fact that if I put out a song today, I'm competing with Master KG, I'm competing with Zonke, I'm competing with Simi or all these other guys. I'm not just competing with Casper or competing with Nessie C. So it starts with just being business savvy on that level, knowing that I need to make sure that I appeal to as many people as possible, because when you look at like the Nigerians, for instance, they understood that, and Afro beats is very mainstream and it's successful because they are not trying to just only make music to impress one another. They know that this particular, if I release a song now, it could potentially be something big in the UK, be something big in the US. So we also need to, like those guys, for instance, that Homeboy might have trashed. I think somehow they are making the music with that mentality, but they just tend to abandon South Africa, and it almost becomes alright, cool, so let me make something that'll probably put me in a good position in the UK or in the US. But when it doesn't connect there, and then you just end up in no man's land, you know what I mean? So it all starts with us making sure that we solidify ourselves locally. I mean, that's why I still, till this day, I look up to people like Black Coffee. I look up to people like Trevor Noah, because these are people that took a South African identity to the world.
Welcome to the venue.
Puzzle. C'est un puzzle. C'est un coup de but it's about the bar,